So here we are in the cockpit of the all-new Peugeot 405 MI16. Let's take a look around. First of all, you get a strong impression it is a performance car. The high-sided seats to give you good lateral support. That's important, as I'll show you a bit later on. Sports-type steering wheel, very clearly laid out dashboard with just the relevant information. There are some luxury items, of course. Hidden away under here is a very high specification stereo radio cassette player. That's very convenient to have that tucked away there, away from prying eyes. Of course, you've got power assisted steering, electric windows, and the seat does adjust in very many ways. The squabs do adjust inwards, the base up and down, of course it reclines, and the headrest fits into the back of your neck. So you really can get comfortable, nice and square, behind some well laid out controls. All of the essentials are very much at your fingertips. So the basic cockpit is user friendly, you have straightforward information coming at you, and you feel nice and square and secure and fully ready to use the performance that's underneath your right foot. Underneath that right foot you have a 1900cc, 160 horsepower, 4-cylinder, 16-valve engine. Lots of performance. It has a nice flat torque curve. Maximum torque, that's pulling power, is around 5,000 RPM, but it's quite flat right through the range, which makes it a nice docile handling car if you want. Or maximum horsepower is up at 6,500 RPM, which sounds very high, but remember this is a very free-breathing engine and easily reaches that, particularly with the close ratio gearbox. The engine is nice and quiet, no boomy periods, good response, and I must say I'm very impressed with that 16-valve. Here at the Bruntingthorpe Track, it's a very good test circuit for a road car. Even the best of supercars can feel inadequate on a track of this type. It really is a good situation to take a car up over 100 miles an hour and just see how it will perform without too many dangers to you or other people. So let's really see how that engine and chassis work together. And very clearly the character of this car is its turn in and its agile handling. Here we are at a 180-degree fast corner. We can turn in with full confidence, even take one hand off the wheel if we want. We're doing 70. We could have approached that corner much faster. Even at 70 miles an hour, if you approach that type of corner on the road and kept your boot right in, they'd lock you up and throw the keys away. Tremendous straight line stability. Not something you want to do on the road, take your hand off the wheel, but for this purpose I can show you. And that's down to the bodywork kit, as I'll show you a little bit later. The basic aerodynamics of the 405 chassis, plus the enhancements they've made for the 405 MI16. Let's pick the speed up even higher and start cornering, and I'll show you just how poised the car is. Let's go through the upper rev range to find those extra horsepower at the very top end. And we can take the sweeping right-hander. You only need one finger on the steering wheel. Not particularly recommended, but just to show you just how poised the car is. And I can also change gear using just one finger, down into fourth, back up into fifth. It's a two-finger car like that. So that shows you just how much confidence the car can give you. So let's try faster still. We're just coming through 110 miles an hour into fifth gear, the overdrive. We're now approaching a 180-degree bend. We normally approach it from the left-hand side as a racing track. Off the power gently, squeeze on the brake pedal, come down the gearbox, and now we can start applying the power, even though we're only part way into the corner. We're actually flat out now. You don't need to grip the steering wheel like your life depends on it. Feel the car. You get feeling from your backside, from your hands, from your feet. And this car does give you a good feedback. Take top gear, long sweeping right-hander coming up. Let's assume this was now on a motorway, sweeping around one of those motorway curves that can so easily catch you out. We're just doing just under 100 miles an hour. Something surprises you. We've still got good directional control, left or right, any way you want to go, and around this right-hander. And we really have plenty of reserve for those little surprises that spoil your day. Let's try out those new third generation Bendix ABS brakes fitted as standard. We're approaching some cones here. Let's treat them as if they're pedestrians. We're doing 90 miles an hour. We're a few feet away now on the brakes, and we can still turn and miss them. So, just while you get your breath back, let's have a look at the outside of the all-new 405 MI16, starting at the front. A nice low air dam here where they've changed the airflow through the engine compartment and underneath the car for better aerodynamics, complete with integral fog lamps as on the GTX and the GT DT. Underneath the bonnet, we have the new 16-valve engine, the rally-based engine with computer-controlled ignition, and there's the ABS pump there alongside. Very accessible, nicely laid out. So, clearly an aggressive package from front to rear bumper. Let's take a look down the side. Sport-style 5-spoke alloy wheels, 60 series tyres. Deep rubbing strips with bright work, and the aerodynamic package continues here down the side with skirts, which helps crosswind stability enormously. Let's have a look at the back. 16-valve identification and pinstripes, MI16 identification here on the back. Very important aerodynamic package here. A deep rear skirt to control the air from underneath the car for less drag. A boot spoiler for less rear lift. So to sum up the MI16, we've got the basic good looks of the 405, but with an aggressive performance package added on, but it still looks very subtle and very classy. So we've explored the limits of the new 405 MI16 on the Bruntingthorpe Track. Now let's see how that translates into everyday road use. So the skies have darkened a little as we take the car onto the road. I think this car is going to appeal very much to the businessman who's also a keen driver, with the sporting image of the car added to the luxury factor, the electric windows, electric sunshine roof, air conditioning option, leather option, thermostat controlled heating. There's quite a long list of specification available on the car, and I think that will appeal very much to the guy who's got to cover long distances but doesn't want a mundane family car to do it in. I like it that there's no secondary action from the suspension. The damping is very nicely tuned. You turn in, the car will soak up the bumps, but there's no sort of reaction that keeps the car moving away. Once it's absorbed a bump or absorbed your input to turn, that's it, it's done it, that manoeuvre's finished and it's ready for the next one immediately. I think the 16-valve engines are now showing that turbocharging is not necessary for good performance. And it's a lot less fuss, no turbo lag to worry about. Reliability factor must be better. Just a very free-breathing cylinder head that gives you the horsepower and the flexibility without putting up with the strange little quirks of turbocharged engines. Let's see what the acceleration is like now. You can redline the car very easily. It starts to get a little bit noisy just after 6,500 RPM. That's really to be expected. But it's quite a nice sporty sort of noise coming back into the car. Swooping now through a country road, up and down hill, blind brow, sign for some horses, so we'll take the speed off. Quite calm and collected. Doesn't appear to be any horses around today, so we'll drop down a gear. So easy to do on that gearbox. Terrific turn in there. This is quite a good road to test the car on. This is typical of the hazards of country motoring where the ABS comes in useful. The power-assisted rack and pinion steering is beautifully weighted actually. Obviously synchronized with the tyre sizes, etc, etc. And at slow speed like this, coming up to a junction, the steering is very, very light, which is as you need. But as soon as you build up speed, you get more feel back into the car. I suspect they've got quite a lot of camber and caster on the front, because you feel no pulling and no scrabbling pulling away from a T-junction like this, which is very impressive. That's always been a problem with a front-wheel drive car. And now they're transmitting up to 160 horsepower through the front wheels. They've obviously cured that problem completely. Really was the reason holding back high-performance front-wheel drive cars, was that transmitting that and not getting too much feedback through the steering wheel. But with a separate input shaft, as they now use in this system, to the equal length front drive shafts, clearly that's been eliminated. So this 405 MI16 has got an awful lot to live up to. It all started, of course, with the 205 GTI, the performance model in that range, followed closely by the 309 GTI. They're all fully established in their classes. They're well known for free revving, very willing engines, and a nice, well-balanced chassis, and a lot of fun to drive. I think Peugeot have achieved their target here and made a further still upmarket version of that in this 405. It's tremendous fun to drive, has that tenacious turn in that we talked about on the racetrack and on the road, and I'm sure it's going to be a huge success. So, I'm sure you're all really dying to get your hands on this car now. It's another winner for Peugeot, and I'm sure it's going to be a huge success.